Welcome to the SWAC Zone, a show that's dedicated to the ins, the outs, the ups, and the downs of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. If it's good, we'll talk about it. If it's bad, we'll talk about it. If it's happening, we'll talk about it. The SWAC Zone, only on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Let us join this week's episode. And welcome back to the SWAC Zone. Radio guy Dr. Mike Prince here with you. We have on the line with us the guru, the godfather himself, Coach Van Pettaway. Coach, how you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing fine, man, after another great week of SWAC basketball.
Yes, sir, SWAC basketball. And before you know it, Coach, we'll be in Birmingham, Alabama, starting March 8th through the 11th for the SWAC tournament. Man, this thing just rolls so fast, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Time is flying by, especially when you're having fun, and a lot of these teams are having fun right now.
Well, before we get into our SWAC recap, I got to get your latest on the Dallas Mavericks acquiring a young man who I don't know what to make heads or tails of, Coach. I don't profess to be a basketball guru. I just want your feedback for a moment. So what do you think about that move?
Well, I'm not sure it was the right move. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Kyrie has to be ball dominant, and they already have their best player is ball dominant. And there's only one on the court. Well, there's only one ball at a time. So I'm trying to figure out who is going to take a back seat, because Luka Doncic loves to have the basketball in his hand. So does Kyrie. So I can see that as being a problem. I think that showed up when he and James Harden were teammates. They both were ball dominant, and that didn't work out. So I don't see how this is going to work out unless Kyrie is going to fool some people, because this is his contract year. He might fool some people for these next 35 games until he can get that bag. And once he gets his bag, he'll go back to being himself, which is he may or may not show up for work, and he may or may not do things the right way. So I don't like that. I just didn't like the way this went down.
There's no question about the talent
Correct.
that this young man has, the God-given ability to play the game of basketball. But it's so unpredictable, and I just don't know. But there's always a market, I guess, for everybody and anybody, and this is just another case of that.
Oh, yes. And see, he, to win a team in a team sport, personalities have to fit, and I just don't see this fitting.
Well, as they say, we'll keep the focus on it, but now we're going to get our focus back to our beloved Southwestern Athletic Conference. Fantastic week, as you led earlier to rough start from our beloved Panthers on Saturday, but we recapped on Monday. So we'll let you take things away, Coach, with the recaps of the week that was.
All righty. Well, we'll start down in the state of Mississippi, where Jackson State played host to Mississippi Valley. Jackson State showed their dominance in winning that game 85-63. And then we'll step out to Alcorn, or Norman, Mississippi, where Alcorn State played host to Arkansas Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff went in there and won that game 73-61. And then we'll come to the state of Alabama, where Alabama State played host to Grambling State. Grambling State won that game 52-51, very close game. And then in Huntsville, my Bulldogs played host to Southern University, and they won that game 60-50. Great performance by the Bulldogs. They really got after them. Tough ball game, and we came out on top. And then coming out to Texas, Texas Southern played host to Florida A&M. Florida A&M won that game 66-55. And then coming down to your Panthers, they played host to Prairie View. Prairie View played host to Bethune-Cookman, and Bethune-Cookman won that game 59-49. I think a lot of people have gone to sleep on Bethune-Cookman.
Guilty as charged, sir. Guilty as charged. I knew that they had a presentable ball club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, once again, maybe I had too much purple and gold shades on in my confidence in the Panthers. But Bethune-Cookman, for lack of a better word, they took us to the woodshed.
Mm-hmm.
And they surprised at least this old boy right here. They surprised me to no end, man. A very solid program. It's nothing or no one overwhelmingly that stands out on this team, but they play well together. And you alluded to when we talked about Kyrie, that's the ultimate goal in playing this game of basketball.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And then on to Monday. On Monday night, everybody got refocused, and now they tried it again down in Jackson, Mississippi. They brought in Arkansas Pine Bluff. Jackson State won that game 88-53. They showed their dominance once again. And then we Alcorn played host to Mississippi Valley, and Alcorn won that game 74-51. And then in Huntsville last night, my Bulldogs played host to Grambling State in a terrific ball game that went down to the end. The Lady Bulldogs pulled that game out 57-53. Texas Southern played host to Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman showed that they're a team to be reckoned with. They beat Texas Southern now in a close one, 66-62. And down in Prairie View, your Panthers bounced back and beat Florida A&M 51-49, and that was closer than a lot of people expected.
Once again, guilty as charged, sir. I was like, this game was way too close. We look at it on paper, Panthers are number 5 seed compared to FAMU being the number 10 seed. And when you look at it, we should be here, we should be there. But one thing I can tell you about those Rattlers, they did not quit. They made that thing close, especially down toward the end, and a couple of fouls. And Prairie View made this game closer than what I felt it should have been. Were not executing at the free throw line as they should have. But sometimes you play down to your opponent, and if your team is good enough, you find a way to win those type of games as they get geared for their next opponent down the road, down in that Baton Rouge area. But going back, it was a heck of a game on last night, and glad that the let me say it like this, that the right team won, Coach. I'm glad that the right team won.
Yep. And then we do have one little hiccup. If you notice, I did not give the score for the Southern and Alabama State game. For some reason, the SWAC has not updated their website. They have a score of 48-43, but according to the stats, that's a third quarter score. That was 48-43 at the time where Alabama State was leading Southern. And so in their standings and also in the on their scheduling, they still have not updated that on the women's side. So that's the mystery. But nevertheless, we do have standings, and once again, Jackson State is 10-1, leading. Alabama A&M and now Bethune-Cookman are tied, have 8-3 records, and then your Prairie View Panthers in a great spot, 7-4. Southern is 6-4. Alabama State 6-4, and Arkansas Pine Bluff right behind them at 6-5. So that final seeding 1 through 6, that's going to go down probably to the end of the season.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And that's why we play the games, and that's what makes this conference so great. We say it all the time. We beat up on each other all the time. But I want us to beat up on some folks outside the conference, Coach. That's what I'm looking for. And you got this return back to the crime of the scene, if you would, Coach Pugh, getting ready to take on the Jags. This is going to be a critical inside positioning for me. Or when I say inside lane positioning for the Panthers. And I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on this game because since Pugh has been at Prairie View, She has not fared too well when she goes back to Baton Rouge.
Right.
But I think this is the year. This is the year of the Panther in Baton Rouge country.
Right. And that's a big game on the women's side. And another game to keep your eye on is Bethune-Cookman and Alcorn. I think that's going to be a very interesting game.
No doubt. No doubt.
Right.
Look, I don't even want to hear Bethune no more right now, Coach. They just came here. They just rearranged furniture at my old Panther den. Man, I didn't like that at all on the men and the women's side of things.
Right. They they're playing, and when they first came into the league, a lot of us felt like that on the women's side that they would be a force to be reckoned with, and the coach left at the same time that they were moving into the SWAC. But now they have regrouped and they're playing some great basketball.
Yes, sir. And before we move on to the men, Coach, we know that it's unusual to see Texas Southern where they are right now. But there is, I guess, a reason why they're experiencing what they're experiencing. This is an extremely young team, a lot of freshmen on this team, and they're experiencing what I'm calling growing pains right now.
Right. And see, they decided to go with high schoolers versus the portal. And then, some of the other teams that are being successful right now, they went to the experienced players and through the portal and transfers to get their squads. But when you look at longevity, you build them with high schoolers. So they're probably the team of the future. And you just got to live with these growing pains right now.
Yes, sir. Well, hopefully the administrative team can, be patient during this moments of long suffering.
Right. And then on the men's side, Saturday, we had some great ball games. We'll start down in the state of Mississippi, where Alcorn State played host to Arkansas Pine Bluff. Very entertaining game. Alcorn won that game 70-67. It just shows that Arkansas Pine Bluff not only can play well at home, but they're forced to be reckoned with on the road also. And then down to Jackson, Mississippi, they played host to Mississippi Valley. And George Ivory came up with the big one. George Ivory won the Mississippi Valley won that game 82-78. And that
now,
was
Coach, that's one of them games. I'm sorry for cutting you off. If no one gets up for Jackson State, Mississippi Valley does. And although Jackson State, for the most part, look and handle Valley as a gnat that's just kind of annoying them, Valley gives everything they have, it seems, when they play Jackson and my beloved Panthers. They give them everything that they have, and that was a huge win for their program at Jackson State.
Oh, yes. That and see, George Ivory, he's got that background where he spent some time at Jackson State, so they were going to be ready to play, and they did. They went in there and came out with a victory. All right, then now on down to Montgomery, Alabama, where Alabama State played host to Grambling. Grambling went in there and won that game 73-60, and that was another good game on tap for Grambling. Grambling just showing their dominance on the road. They showed it in preseason that they can win on the road as they took down Pac-12, the SEC schools on the road. So they're just showing it in the SWAC. They can do the same thing.
But, Coach, I look at them as a sneaky good program, and here's why I say that. Just like we talked about Bethune-Cookman on the women's side, now for me, there's no one jumping off the stat sheets as this premier dominant player.
Right.
But they play so well together, man. And Coach Jackson has done an outstanding job since his arrival. That was one of those Paul Bryant hires, who's your AD now at A&M. Man, he's done an outstanding job.
Right. Dante, I got an opportunity to talk to him last night. I've been knowing him for years when he was the head coach at Stillman, and then, of course, up at Central State. This guy knows basketball. He the thing that I like He's from the old school. When I say old school, I mean he plays a lot of people. Some of these programs try to play 7 or 8 people. No. You're going to get 11 to 12 players every night from Dante. He's going to keep rotating those bodies, and he's got those guys playing together as a team, and it's working out for him. So he has the program on the men's side that most people see as the dark horse. They're the ones. They don't get a lot of pub in the preseason, being the top team, but he's always doing enough where his team is going to be the dark horse going down the stretch.
Okay, well, they doing their thing, that's for sure.
Oh, yes. And then on to Huntsville, Alabama, where Alabama A&M played host to Southern, and they won that game going away 82-61. And I think Southern never knew what hit them. Alabama A&M jumped out on them 10-0, and they never looked back. They never looked back.
When you say that, Coach, whispers, we can't stop whispers, and you can try not to listen or hear them, but sometimes the whispers become a bit louder. And I don't know what you're hearing, but it's almost like Coach Woods might be on some shaky territory down in Baton Rouge, man.
Well, I don't think it's – I didn't know it was a secret. When he didn't get a contract extension, he's in his last year, and he tried to get an extension after the season last year, and he didn't get it. So I think he's going to have to win out in order to probably stay there or get an extension. So I think a lot of people know that, and I just hate to see this happen to him because he started out. His team started out like a house on fire, and then they're fading down the stretch. In other words, there's always been a knack on Southern that they don't play well on the road, and that's coming back to get them right now.
But the other knack is being coached, and I'm sorry, but they don't finish strong.
Correct. Yes.
They don't finish strong. So, do you think that the administrative team, in this case, Coach Banks, is saying that enough is enough, and then the added pressure that he at one time had success as the basketball coach at Southern, are those added layers that Coach Woods has to deal with right now?
Well, yeah, I just think that there's a lot of pressure. First of all, I think that Coach Woods is putting on himself. I think, we as coaches, a lot of times we put more pressure on ourselves than any administrator can do because you're competitive and you want to win. So I think a combination might be getting to him. Might be getting to him. Yes.
Well, does that affect the way that you coach? You're going into your final year, no extension. Do you get to the point that you just want to finish the season out? You want to win every game that you can, but it's like, if you don't care, why should I care? Do you think that kind of mentality is settling in right now?
No, I don't think with him it would be that mentality because of the competitive edge. I don't think he doesn't want to go out as a loser. I know I wouldn't. I know plenty of coaches have, and then I know some other coaches that I have experienced who did exactly what you just said. They knew that they were going to be gone, and they didn't care. So they just threw caution to the wind, and whatever happened. And I saw that firsthand. When I was in another conference for some of my colleagues. But it's if a coach is worth his grain of salt, he's going to want to win down the stretch.
Okay.
Yep. And to finish up on Saturday, we're going to go out to Texas, where Texas Southern played host to Florida A&M. Florida A&M went in and won that game 76-69. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't see that coming. I thought Texas Southern would be able to win that game because they were at home. And then, of course, last night, your Prairie View Panthers played host to Bethune-Cookman, and Bethune came in and won that game 60-58.
Yeah. Free throws, Coach. Free throws. That's all I can say, sir. Free throw. But there was an inadvertent whistle that got Coach Smith in a You hear me, Coach? 19.1 seconds remaining. The Panthers have the ball. They're playing for the final shot. You know, Prairie View is a pretty decent perimeter shooting team. And with 4.1 seconds, Gamble gets ready, he crosses his man up, gets ready to pull up at the top of the key. The whistle blows. And there was one of the officials who thought there was a timeout called. And, boy, you could have.
By Prairie View?
Yeah. And Coach Smith went ballistic. What do you mean? I didn't call no timeout. Where did you hear timeout? So, of course, when you're in the flow, Coach, I don't have to tell you this as a coach and former athlete, it's different when you're winding down from 19 seconds to 4 seconds.
Right.
And then have to come from a timeout and get it, just threw everything off. Not that that's why the Panthers lost. As I mentioned, the Bethune-Cookman was on fire from the perimeter. They couldn't miss, and they had an early lead, and they kept it established, and they won. But, man, what a way to lose that game against Bethune.
Right. But, see, what you're describing is, see, you're in rhythm at 19 seconds. You got the rhythm, you got the rest of the clock to stop it, and then to come up with an offense, a quick hitter with 4 seconds, that's more difficult. Whereas playing the end of the game from 19 seconds down is just totally different. It's a totally different mindset for the players and the coaches when you do it that way. Yeah,
yes,
so
sir.
I can see that.
Sir.
I can see that. And then on to last night, everybody had to regroup after Saturday's action down in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson State played host to Arkansas Pine Bluff, and they cooled Pine Bluff off some. They won that game 88-84. And then down at Lorman, Mississippi, Alcorn State played host to Mississippi Valley, and Alcorn won that game 81-70. Then in Montgomery last night, Alabama State hosted Southern, and they continued their road woes by winning that game 73-66 over the Jaguars. And then in Huntsville last night, my Bulldogs shot 20% in the first half as they fell to Grambling State 66-60. That was they were down by as many as 15 in the second half, came back within one, couldn't climb that mountain, and we lost that game. And over in Texas last night, Texas Southern played host to Bethune-Cookman, and they won that game 69-62. And then your Panthers played host to Florida A&M, and they took their frustrations out on Florida A&M, winning that game 75-45.
No doubt.
Coach, they did not have to beat McCullum like that.
You're right. It should have been 85-45. But, I just hoping they didn't leave too many of those shots at the gym at Prairie View and forget to bring them with them to Baton Rouge. But they started out on fire. All cylinders were clicking, man, and they never really looked back. FAMU didn't have really much of a chance from the start of this one, Coach.
Right. They seemed like Prairie View just jumped out on them and showed that they were still ticked off from Saturday night.
Yeah, Coach Smith, I can imagine. Say, we don't even want this to be close. I'm not worried about the 19 seconds or the 4 seconds. Let's go in here and execute, and let's do what we're supposed to do. And to be quite honest with you, Coach, when you're having the sort of year that FAMU is having compared to what Prairie View is having, even though it's not in the upper echelon as we speak, but when you know you are the more dominant team, you need to show that from start to finish, and they did that as an example. Right.
And so now with the shake after Monday night, the standings look like this. Alcorn State is now the number one team with a 9-2 record. Grambling and Southern both have 8-3 records. Arkansas Pine Bluff, the surprise team, is 6-5, along with Jackson State 6-5, My Bulldogs are 5-6, along with Bethune-Cookman, Prairie View, and Bama State. So it looks like the big race is going to be from 5 through 9 to find out who is going to move up. But everything is in front of everybody. This race is not over yet. It's not over. This is going to be a very crucial weekend. You got the big matchup. Your Panthers go down to Southern. So the playing in Baton Rouge is going to be tough for the Panthers. I think Southern is a team that plays well at home, and they're licking their chops after being annihilated 2 losses on the road. So I know that they'll be ready to play. Grambling is playing probably as well as anybody right now, and along with Alcorn. And they're going to play. They're going to host Texas Southern. But I think another game that'll have people watching will be Alcorn's men at Bethune-Cookman. Because Bethune plays well at home.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that small little jam. People make fun of it, but that's really to their advantage to be able to play in the confines that they have at Bethune-Cookman. And I know it's kind of old-fashioned, and I've been referred to as a relic from time to time, but I kind of like them little small gyms, like their coach, and make it a little uncomfortable for the visiting team, and you get 500 to 1,000 people in a little place like that, man, and you can make a whole bunch of noise and make people uncomfortable.
Right. I like the intimate settings. That's why I loved Elmore all those years, because we could pack them in. You put 6,000 people up in there, and you'll make some people sweat. You'll make some people sweat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And, well, we come to the end of another great weekend, so I'm looking forward to these games this week. And then, speaking of games, there's another game happening this week.
Oh, yeah. I think they refer to it with a Super Bowl, right?
Oh, okay. I think so.
Okay. Now, Coach, I know that you are the godfather. You're the guru. But I want to see if you dare to pick who do you believe will win this weekend and why.
Well, I plan to fly like an eagle. I don't know about you, but I plan to fly like an eagle.
That's why I hang around you, sir. I'm thinking the same thing right now. The Eagles, from day one, some people doubted, the consistency of the team, but they've been whooping heads and taking names, and I don't think this game is going to be a blowout. Nope. I don't think it's going to be a lot of scoring going on, but I think the Eagles have all the right ingredients where they can be your Super Bowl champions in Super Bowl 57.
Right. I think the Eagles can control the tempo. They can control the game because they have the better running game. I think their defense, on the defensive side of the ball, I think they play better. And I think if they can control the ball, that keeps Mahomes on the sideline holding his helmet, and he can't hurt you if he's on the sideline.
No doubt about it. And Jalen Hurts has just the right mix of talent to run or throw, to extend plays, as you mentioned, right. Eat up that clock, and keep them on the sideline. But here's something, Coach, I know it's been talked about, and it's symbolic and ironic that as we're in the month of February, recognized as Black History Month, even though every month is Black History Month for me, because last I checked, I'm Black. So every month I make it to the next month as another historical month, right?
Correct.
But could you reflect on how this nation, how athletics has evolved to where you got 2 African-American quarterbacks starting in the Super Bowl? Just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, unimaginable. What do you feel as a Black man when you experience that in such a time we're in right now, Coach?
I think the big word is opportunity. They've been given the opportunity. And then these guys today, McClone and Hurts, they're standing on the shoulders of people who paved the way for them. You got to go back to James Harris. You got to go back. You got to go back to the guys that started this when they felt like if you were African American, your thought process was not where it needed to be a quarterback. So you were not even given the opportunity. So those guys that did look up and get that opportunity, they paved the way for these guys. And I just think it's just opportunity. If they continue to give us opportunities in every aspect of life, we will do the same thing. I don't care what it is. If we're given the same opportunities as anybody else, I think we'll rise to the top. And I think that's what is happening now, because you've got more African American quarterbacks now to choose from. That was gonna happen. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to the day when it would not be so strange that you got two African American quarterbacks going against each other in the Super Bowl. That's the day that I'm looking forward to.
Yes, sir. And I believe it's closer than ever before, Coach, yes, where it becomes the norm. You know, it is what it is. When you go back to 1965 in Briscoe with the Denver Broncos, who broke that color barrier, as far as what I understand, and I wasn't around in 65, Coach, but you probably could help me. He was the first African-American quarterback that I was aware of. So
yes,
and with that being said, sir, I want to give you some closing thoughts and comments.
Well, just like that nugget you just put out there for us, you must continue to keep doing what you're doing. You got to be able to get it out there so that all of us can understand and know about our history. This is awesome. And I just want to encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, Doc. You're doing an outstanding job.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We are looking forward to the continued growth, looking forward to the start of the SWAC basketball tournament, March the 8th through 11th in Birmingham, Alabama, where the Southwestern Athletic Conference will take over Birmingham, Alabama. And we look forward to bringing you the games. Coach, it's always a joy and a pleasure, sir, to conversate with you each and every week. And I do have you on record for saying that the Eagles will win the Super Bowl.
Oh, yes.
So if we both stumble, we can at least come up with a justifiable reason why we were wrong, right? But
yes,
I think we'll be standing tall on next week. He is the guru, the godfather of basketball and the Southwestern Athletic Conference sports here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, Coach Van Pettaway. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Remind you that you can follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And in the event you need to be up to speed and up to date on anything that we're providing, ask your smart device to play the latest episode of The Mike Prince Show. And just like that, you'll have everything that you need. So until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hi, it's me, Donna G, back with you again on the MIC with DG Sports and Entertainment. I missed you guys last week, and you guys missed me, I hope. But it's all good. I just had to take a pause for the cause. All good indeed. Listen, we're here, and we're back, and we're just going to jump right into it. So this week, we have our SWAC men's basketball standings. So I want to just make sure that I'm conveying that I am listing or calling out the men's basketball standings each week, okay? So just so there's no confusion, no diss to the ladies, love you all, but I am doing men's basketball. So I'm going to start off. This week we have Alcorn leading the pack with conference play 9-2. Grambling following. Grambling and Southern are tied, but Grambling is leading up with 8-3. Both have 8-3, but Grambling is the next in line after Alcorn. After that is Arkansas Pine Bluff and Jackson State with 6-5 record. Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and Prairie View along with Alabama State, are at 5 and 6. After that is Texas Southern University with 4-7, Florida A&M with 3-8. And by the way, we did beat them. We Prairie View A&M University this past Monday. So good job, guys. And Mississippi Valley still with 2-9. So every week I usually try to give blessings to Mississippi Valley State, and this week will be no different. So we're welcoming and wishing you guys best of luck and blessings on your basketball journey this season. All right, so let's get into some things. I want to let you guys know that Prairie View is looking for a volleyball coach. So if you are the creme de la creme, or you know someone who's the creme de la creme in volleyball coaching, please ask them to apply at careers@prairieviewam.edu. Okay? So we're looking for the best of the best, not your cousin and them that just happen to play volleyball in college or whatever. Okay? We need somebody that can not only play and transfer those skills to coaching young ladies as well as developing their character and things of that nature. So, again, if you or someone you know is a great volleyball coach, please have them apply at Prairie View A&M University Careers. All right, now, moving on, let's look at some highlights from the week. We see that Shannon Sharp gave an apology to Prairie View and Alabama State on his club, Shay Shay. And I've seen that being posted all over social media and what have you. But I'm like, let's give that same energy. You did not talk about us badly on Club Shay Shay. You talked about us on your national syndicated show with Skip Bayless. So I want you to go back on there and not give a bland general apology, Mr. Sharp, to those apologies that you stated. You just gave a general apology. I want you to go back on your show and apologize to Prairie View and Alabama A&M by name. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll look forward to that in the weeks coming. Actually, I'm going to say in the days coming, because that should be coming up very, very soon. But I noticed that on the Club Shay Shay, you had Tennessee State coach on there with you, Eddie George, and very mild-mannered. I really am reserved. I am really digging his coaching style from what I've seen of him in the past, and I'm looking forward to some great things coming from him in the future. So keep up the great work, Eddie George. You don't have to be always loud, and nothing against that, because myself, I am, just say I command the room, so nothing against that. But it's nice to have those who come in, head to the ground, and do what they got to do. So looking forward for great things from TSU. Now, the football program and athletics is growing, but Tennessee State did win a Grammy for their band album, and I want to say hats off and kudos to them for that. Okay, Tennessee State won a Grammy this past weekend for their band album, so that's very awesome. I think this is number 2 for them. So keep up the great work, guys. Listen, we have some events that are coming up, and we want to make sure that everybody is aware of. Next week, we got the Cactus Jack Foundation is going to be hosting a HBCU Celebrity Softball Classic, and that's on Thursday, February the 16th, and then the baseball tournament takes place Friday, February the 17th through Sunday, February the 19th, okay? Cactus Jack, if you're not familiar with, is the brainchild and the foundation of Travis Scott, Houston's own Travis Scott. And Travis Scott has some HBCU history, okay? Travis' grandparents and parents went to Prairie View. His grandparents, also grandmother. Let me get it right because I don't want to have some misinformation out there. But they are aligned with Grambling State as well. So if you notice, a few years ago, Travis gave money to Grambling and to Prairie View, along with 2 other universities, okay? So we want to make sure this is a son of Prairie View and Grambling. We want to make sure that we support him. We know what happened a couple of years ago wasn't his sole fault. And so we want to lift him up and support him. He's been nothing but good to HBCUs. So let's keep it moving, but I do want to mention about the Softball Classic next weekend. You can get tickets for that at MLB.com/Astros/tickets/Cactus Jack. That's CACTUS-JACK. Okay, that's for the Celebrity Softball Classic that's taking place on Thursday, February the 16th. You can use the code HBCU. That'll give you about 20% off your tickets, and it's a great little discount, guys. Trust me, when I was going to get the tickets, I'm like, I applied that code. It was all good. I was able to get a couple more tickets, and I wasn't mad about it. So make sure you use that code for the Celebrity HBCU softball game on Thursday, February the 16th. Now, the next events are, and I'm going to have to make sure they send me some money for this, for plugging this up. But anyway, Cactus Jack events on Friday, February the 17th. Go to the MLB.com/Astros/tickets/HBCU-Classic. That has the schedule for the weekend. First day, Prairie View Grambling, TSU Mississippi Valley, Southern and Jackson State. Next day on Saturday, the 18th, Valley and Jackson, Southern and Grambling, PV and Texas Southern, okay? Next day, Sunday, February the 19th, Grambling and Valley, JSU and PV and Texas Southern and Southern. So you can buy individual tickets or you can buy a 3-day package, okay? They also have 3-day parking packages available as well. Other activities are, and please don't forget to have your students sign up for the college fair. That's on Saturday, February the 18th. You can register at that link that I mentioned earlier, or you can Google Cactus Jack HBCU Classic, and the link should come up, okay? That's Saturday. Next is the Paula Harris HBCU Classic Old School Party. And if you buy tickets for that, I think you get in free to all the games that day, and as well as the party that night, okay? Next is the Gospel Breakfast on Sunday, February the 19th. And you can purchase that. Tickets are $25. It's going to be, it includes admission to all the Sunday games at Minute Maid Park. So that's a nice little package there, okay? All right, so be sure to check that out. We'll have more information next week on that. So good deal, guys. Now, next I want to tell you guys about the HBCU All-Star Game that's taking place on April 2nd, okay? This is the second annual HBCU All-Star Game. It will take place at Texas Southern's HP&E Arena during the Final Four weekend, okay? So make sure you guys go to Eventbrite and get your tickets. It's going to be awesome. It's featuring the best talent from 4 HBCU athletic conferences representing the MEAC, the SEAC, SIAC versus the SWAC and CIAA members with Tennessee State, Hampton, North Carolina A&T, the state universities. We know Tennessee State, Hampton, and North Carolina A&T are not in all black or HBCU conferences, but they're going to be included anyway. So that is so great. So look forward to that, you guys. You can go and Google that and get your tickets right away. Now, our next topic of discussion. What do we think about the new Pro Bowl game lineup and setup, okay? What did you guys think about that? I'm going to put that out and ask for comments, but just my opinion. I hated it, okay? I loved that it was in Vegas and it was in the brand new stadium, and that was awesome. Shout out to a friend of mine who does sports management there. So great, that's a great thing. But the flag part of it, no. And also the yardage, the field was shortened, so they didn't have to run as long. So I'm like, Pro Bowl, we want to acknowledge those guys who have been balling all year and maybe ended up short and not going to the Super Bowl. So I think this is great, but I'd like it to go back to a regular game. At least, like I said, have the regular yardage on the field. You know what I'm saying? I know they don't want the guys to get hurt where they can't participate in Super Bowl activities for the next week, but I think we got to definitely go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can make all of that happen for a win-win for everybody. So my opinion is I didn't like it. I liked it that it was in Vegas, you know, that the new stadium as opposed to the old rundown stadium in Hawaii. But you know, Hawaii is Hawaii. So, I mean, you can make it happen and make it work. But the flag football part of it is a definitely no-go for me. Now, on to this weekend's big game, the Super Bowl. Woo, woo, woo. And the Super Bowl, which is what I've been saying probably halfway through the season, was going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And guess what? That ended up being true a couple of weeks ago when both teams won their games that Sunday. So I'm excited. Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Philadelphia Eagles being led by Jalen Hurts. Both great teams, both great offenses, both great defenses. So this is going to be a definite great game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it so much. Again, we both know two black quarterbacks, and I am a quarterback fan. I don't really have a team that I'm supporting right about now, but I am a black quarterback fan. And so for a black quarterback fan, this is probably the highlight of my year. So wishing blessings and much love to both teams, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. May the best team win. I don't think there's really a loser in this game for me and for most black people. I want to give a shout-out to Hurts for graduating from one of my schools that I attended, the University of Oklahoma, the Sooners. Go Sooners, Boomer Sooner. All right, and I just think perseverance makes the dream work. So keep it up. All righty then. So yeah, you guys on my social media pages, I would definitely like for you to comment what you think about the game coming up this weekend, what you thought about the Pro Bowl at DG Sports ENT on all platforms. That's the DG Sports ENT on all platforms. All right. Well, we're coming to a close, but one thing I do want you to put on your calendar and set the date for is the 2023 Labor Day Classic event. We know that here in Texas, Labor Day Classic means Prairie View versus Texas Southern University. And so Texas Southern and PV alumni, as well as their universities and HoustonLaborDayClassic.com will have a full weekend of events for you guys. So, again, you've heard it here first on the SWAC Zone with Donna G and DG Sports and Entertainment, along with King of the Field. So, very good information. Hopefully you got all of that, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. The opinions of this piece of work are those of Donna Glover and not those of Mike Prince and his show. All righty, you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Peace and blessings.
Radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Of course, we feature on HBCU content and the Southwestern Athletic Conference in particular. But today, we are so happy and fortunate to have on the line with us from my native state of Missouri, athletic director of the Lincoln Blue Tigers, none other than Dr. Kevin Wilson. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing outstanding, Mr. Prince. I really appreciate you having me today. Thank you.
No problem at all. And when we get into what led to the nature of this call, a lot of people are hearing that name, Kevin Wilson, and they may or may not be familiar with who Dr. Kevin Wilson is. If you would be so kind to bring our listeners up to speed of who, what, and how you ended up in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Absolutely. I would be shocked if anybody knew my name. Hopefully it was for something good, not anything bad. But I've been really fortunate just to be in this industry for over a decade. Started out at North Carolina Central University, working with the legendary Dr. Ingrid Wickham McCree. Got an opportunity with her after working with the head of men's basketball coach, Lavelle Moten, who actually gave me my first job in athletics. And so I started out as an ops guy, and really fortunate for the opportunity that Lavelle gave me. And then Ingrid said, hey, I think you can do well in administration. And so, when you think about the staff there, several of us are now sitting athletic directors, including Ms. A.T.N. Thomas at Winston-Salem State. And so was really fortunate to learn from some of the best in the industry to this day. And so started at North Carolina Central, left North Carolina Central, and Dr. Edward McClain gave me an opportunity at Fayetteville State at my second HBCU. And so, went there, and then Willie Jude, who was my boss at North Carolina Central, left, and then Ingrid asked me to come back and fill his role. So I was very fortunate to go back there. And then at some point in my career, I said, hey, man, I can't, just be in one lane the entire time of my career. And so there was this upstart institution in Florida that was just looking for a young, scrappy development officer that really just wanted to build relationships and do it the right way. And I literally was going to tell my wife that I wasn't even going to apply just because, the box that black administrators are put in during the hiring process. And that's something I alluded to in my dissertation. But my wife, being my biggest cheerleader, biggest supporter, told me to apply. And I did. And Mark Wright at University of Central Florida saw fit to give me an opportunity to get there. And, man, you talking about fast forwarding, going from 0-11 to 2 years undefeated in football, meeting outstanding administrators like Dr. Eric Wood, who's now the athletic director at Louisiana Tech, my guys at FIU, Scott, and then also the recently named Deputy AD at Penn State, Brandy Stewart. Just meeting those, and being able to work with those individuals every day, including getting the opportunity to work with a fellow Duke graduate and Johnny Dawkins on the men's basketball side, and Coach Abe Henderson, who is now at the University of Georgia. And so just really being attached to high-level coaches and high-level administrators across the board. Shoot, half that staff is now at Tennessee with Danny. And being able to learn directly from Danny White and kind of see how he goes about his business of really affording the student athletes the best experience in college athletics. And so, but at that point, we weren't necessarily quote unquote Power Five at that point. We were kind of the running joke, so to speak, with our national championship. And so I said, I need to try and get to a Power Five opportunity, and had a chance to do that at Washington State. Went out there for a quick stint, and we're very fortunate to work there under Pat Shun, who was AD of the year in addition to Danny, and really kind of learn, the nuances of why I do what I do, and really kind of why I was getting up every day to do my job. And so grateful for the lessons that I learned there at Washington State, and really meant to meet some great individuals there, including Andre Dillard, who's completing for a Super Bowl for the Eagles. And so I worked directly with him to impact the students during the pandemic. And then, once again, had the opportunity to work with Blind Blair, who is now the athletic director at Toledo. And so, once we transitioned there, had opportunity to work with one of the youngest athletic directors in Division I, Courtney Gaucher at Florida A&M, and did really great things there in terms of from the LeBron deal to bringing in significant amounts of dollars to help transform and really elevate Florida A&M athletics. And so, but then during my time there, got the call from Dr. Mosley here. We worked together previously on staff together at North Carolina Central with basketball, and he had become the interim president and needed somebody to really kind of take the lead from an external athletics campus wellness standpoint, and gave me a call. He was with his family in Mexico, and so to have the opportunity to work with somebody I respect was a no-brainer, and to step into a true leadership role in this seat, and that's what we're all working towards. And so I had the opportunity to come here, and that's what brought me to beautiful Jefferson City and make a small impact.
Yes, sir. Are you enjoying those rolling hills and the Missouri winter months?
The winter months, not so much. I've actually been very fortunate to have 2 mild winters. To be honest with you, they were definitely more mild than they were in Pullman. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, life here in Jefferson City has been awesome. Everybody's been nothing but embracing, and the culture here is one that where everybody wants everybody around them to be successful. And so they've been nothing but embracing me and my family. They're always asking how my boys are doing, how my wife is doing, and they really, truly care about the folks who really, truly care about them. So it's been amazing.
Yes, sir. We're talking with Dr. Kevin Wilson, Athletic Director of the Lincoln Blue Tigers in Jefferson City, Missouri. Now, during your introductory, listening to the credentials that you bring to the table in the forefront, a lot of diversity, which was sometimes lacking, which may allude to this bouncing off the statement that you made, that Black administrators are put into a box. Could you elaborate on the box that you've seen, and how does this diverse background that you have keep you out of that box?
Absolutely. Right, wrong, or different, I can really only speak to my experience. And so oftentimes, when we get into these roles at the onset, we're former student athletes. We're young. We've shown some level of maturity that kind of piques senior level administrators' eye, and they're saying, hey, we'll give you a shot to kind of earn it. And most times we're put into internal roles in terms of student success, academics, and compliance. And so, but when you look at the research, Dr. Eric Wood kind of touched on this in his dissertation. The quickest path to becoming an athletic director is on the external side, where I was fortunate enough to be to kind of get a career in, right, where we're more forward facing, we're there with the constituents that truly move an athletic department forward, and not necessarily dealing with the student athlete on a day-to-day basis, but really impacting their experience. And so, but even in that, and oftentimes, if you look across the landscape, there are not a lot of African Americans raising dollars. There are not a lot of African Americans that are leading development shops at the highest level. I think my guy Alvin Franklin at Mississippi State is one of a few, and he's probably the only African American in the SEC raising dollars at the SEC level. And so, when you look at all these hiring announcements, that is where all of them come from. That's where all your athletic directors come from, because presidents need folks who can have those conversations, build those relationships, and bring in that revenue. But we're just not pushed in that direction. I believe, one young lady was recently kind of thrust into that role in Vanderbilt, and she was on the facility side. And so, essentially, but you don't see that very often. We're not approached to say, hey, what would you like to be on the advancement side? Would you love to be on the external side? That's just not something that's not an opportunity that's afforded to us, much at all. So I've always remained grateful. And so, but when I talk about a box, I'm sorry, I'm ranting. When I'm talking about a box, most times if you fundraise at the Division II level, they want to see that have you done it at the high level, right? And so you can raise all the dollars you want at the Division II level, and FCS person that's FCS hiring authority is going to be like, well, you haven't done it at this level. And then if you have done it at the FCS level, they say, well, we want somebody who's done the FBS level. And if you've done it at the Power 5 level, it's almost like, well, they've done it at the Power 5 level. Why do they want to come to the FCS level? And so there are always these questions and disclaimers in terms of, can you get it done? And that I found in my experience. And so I'm always rooting for individuals like my colleague Alicia Herbs that just transitioned to Texas. 2 years ago, she wasn't in the business at all. And then I told her she just needs one opportunity, and luckily Jared Benko gave her that opportunity at Georgia Southern, and so she did well, like I knew she would, and now she's in Texas, right? And so but she faced a lot of uphill battle because at the end of the day she didn't have that body of work that would suggest she would be successful at a Texas or successful at a Georgia Southern, But fortunately, that great staff at Texas is open to new talent, and they gave her opportunity. But you don't see that a lot at development staffs across the country.
Now, when you talk about the fundraising aspect for an athletic director, I personally think that is one of the main essential traits that one needs to be successful, regardless if it's Power 5, D2, D3, NAIA. Do you see among some of your colleagues that is probably one of the areas where they least have the experience and or confidence to be successful in that position?
I would say in Division II, I would say yes. FCS, I think, it's revenue. And so most folks at the end of the day that get into the chair don't necessarily have as heavy a internal background as much as the folks who do have some external background, and when I talk about specifically African Americans, I'm talking about specifically African Americans. And so I think at Division II, they're less kind of accustomed to getting out and getting the dollars. Not to say that there aren't a lot of colleagues at this level that are going out and getting it. Trust me, there are a lot of people that are going out and monetizing and leveraging those assets in a great way, in a positive way to impact their student athletes. But it's not as prominent as it is at the Division I level. Everybody's trying to find a way to attach themselves to a multimedia rights deal, or trying to get some dollars for their program, or some way somehow so that they can say, hey, I had to raise revenue, I had to build relationships. And so, but I think it's more prominent at the Division I level.
Okay, and when you see that opportunity affords itself, and you got someone who's trying to get into the game, if you would, fundraising is about relationships. It's about building and make it. And one of the things that frustrates me as an HBCU alum, broadcaster, and content cover for over 30 years now, I don't consider playing a money game against a Division I program in your case, or a Power 5 in a D1's case, as fundraising. I'm calling fundraising going out there, shaking hands, kissing babies, building the blueprint and a foundation within a 25, 30-mile radius of your campus. Do you see that any differently?
I would agree with you on the money game piece. I remember a couple of years back, and definitely not to judge any one institution, but I remember seeing some of the scores that Savannah State had when they were at Division I, and that's really tough. And I know it's the quickest way that you see to a solution, and so I never necessarily faulted. That's just not something I believe in. Going out and getting a bunch of buy games. That's just my personal philosophy. And I credit North Carolina A&T kind of as when they rose to kind of prominence. They just kind of made a decision just to say we're not going to do that. And they really kind of put it on Earl and that great external team, one of which is at the ACC office, and the other is working with Jennifer Thomas, who went on to be the athletic director at Alabama State and now is working with Team USA. But at the end of the day, they had great fundraisers at the end of the day, and it really took that pressure off of the administration to have to go get those buy games. And so and they did exactly what you did, like what you're talking about. Gene Smith said it best. Your next best gift is going to be in your stadium. And so you gotta work on those folks in that immediate area. We do that same thing here at Lincoln. We truly believe the Blue Tiger Athletic Club is our future. And so we work really, really hard to make sure the folks that come to Jason Gym or come to the White T. Reed have a great experience, and they want to continue the conversation and say, hey, how can I impact? And that's why we've been able to secure a lot of the support that we've been able to rally as of recently.
Yes, sir. Now, being in the Division II level, we know the wave of NIL. What impact, if any, have you seen on the D2 level?
So for us, it was a game changer. We were the first school in the MIAA, period, black or not, to not only sign on with Open Doors, who was the NIL platform at the time. We were also the first to sign an NIL deal for an entire football team. And so we were, we kind of really intentional about leveraging that. The donor was very intentional about, wanting to support us and said, hey, I want to do it via NIL. And we said, cool, that makes sense, because at the time, legally, we could not negotiate. That was their choice. And we had to, and that's what really pushed us to join the platform so that we can manage it accordingly. And so it's done well for us. I know we were very, very proud to kind of be the example for the rest of the MIAA, which is arguably, one of the most competitive conferences in Division II. And we were very proud to be a leader in that regard. So I think it's a game changer. I think it gives you opportunity to really leverage that student athlete's name, image, and likeness, and give them opportunity to really, maximize who they are as a brand within your brand. And we feel very strongly about the growth potential about being a Lincoln Blue Tiger. And so it's worked out well for us.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, when they hear NIL deals, they think of the multi-million-dollar platforms that are offered out there, but there are some not so plentiful deals, but there are plentiful deals out there. Would you agree?
I would agree, and that's where Open Doors helped us a lot. You'd have a company like GoPuff that would reach out to a student athlete and say, hey, we just want you to do a social media post of $25. And I don't know about you, but, that money adds up. And so, and that's what it's done for our student athletes. And, that $100 or that $150 that week, that could be the difference between being able to eat and off campus versus eating at the caf. And so, we're very, very fortunate that to put our athletes in that position. That's what we pride ourselves for here, to put our student athletes in the best position possible.
Yes, we're talking right now with Dr. Kevin Wilson, Athletic Director of the Lincoln Blue Tigers out of Jefferson City, Missouri. And you made the mention of a conference, MIAA, which led us to reach out to you guys. You guys made an announcement a couple of weeks back where you're going to be transitioning to the Great Lakes Valley Athletic Conference. That's a mouthful to say when you say that. But this, for some in the South where I am right now, it might not seem like a big deal, but this was a major deal when I came across it, plus a couple of other additions that I'll touch on in a moment. But what was the significance of transitioning to this conference, and how will it impact Lincoln Blue Tiger athletics in the future?
It was historic, nothing short of historic. At the end of the day, we talk about putting our student athletes in a position to be successful, and now we have opportunity to do that across sports. So that's first and foremost because we are now competing against institutions that have a similar investment level that we do across the board, not just in football. We also share a similar makeup and a similar footprint. We're now at the heart of the footprint of the conference, and so when you talk about travel dollars and travel time, i.e., via missed class, now that's less time that our student athletes have to miss classes, and which is, I'm pretty sure it means the world to our parents, it means the world to my president, it means the world to our curators and to our faculty, and so less overnight trips, and now we're also in cities where we have a strong alumni presence, right? How many people are going to cities where there are literally no fans, they really have no presence, and there's no opportunity to really engage your alumni, and so we're able to now shift that narrative and be able to do that now to include cities like Chicago and Indianapolis, where we recruit a significant amount of students and have very active alumni chapters. And so, and then also it allows us, for the longest time in the MIAA, we was a closed schedule. That was just their philosophy. That's what they believed in from a football standpoint. It positioned them to be, ranked pretty high as it relates to regional play year after year. But unfortunately for us, we were not allowed to play other HBCUs because it was a closed schedule. And so now, with the GLVC, and we'll have 4 open weeks, possibly a fifth. Well, 4 open weeks, I'm sorry, and to include a homecoming to play HBCUs. And I'm excited to let you know that, we actually, Commissioner Racy and all my colleagues at the MIAA, the presidential leadership from the top down was very, very helpful with us throughout this entire process. And so in 2023, we're actually going to be seen as an out-of-conference opponent. So we're not going to, our games football-wise are not going to count. We can't compete for an MIAA championship in 23. However, it's afforded us the opportunity to go and play some GLVC teams. And so we'll be actually playing 2 GLVC teams next year and 2 HBCUs next year in our schedule. And so I can't disclose who they are just because.
Oh man, I was just about to ask you now. Can you at least let us know about the HBCU part of it? Can you let us know that part of it, man?
I will share that we share some similar makeup and that we're both in the Midwest, and so the announcement's coming soon. I'm very excited. Definitely can't wait. It'll be our home opener here, and then we'll have one later on in October.
Oh man, you got me itching right now, so I'm gonna have to keep bugging you about that one right there. But it's exciting for me. Like I said, I'm a native of St. Louis. And a lot of people may or may not be aware. There are only 2 historically black universities in the state of Missouri, Harris-Stowe and Lincoln University. And Harris-Stowe for the longest was a teacher's institution, Neil, if you would. They've developed over the years with their athletic program. And I'm going to say my poor Lincoln Blue Tigers, because my brother is an alum of Lincoln, played baseball there. And it's been a rough hill for Blue Tiger Nation. But one thing about it, it's a loyal group of people, and they appreciate their sports. What are some of the things that you're getting as far as feedback with this transition of conferences that you're hearing from Blue Tiger Nation?
We're getting excitement. We're getting positivity. We're getting relief. We're getting just general. It's kind of about time, especially with the addition of the sports, and so because a lot of people don't understand, how prominent our baseball alum are, and just how successful they've been after Lincoln. We've got about 4 banks that are headquartered right here in Jeff City, and out of those 4, 3 of the presidents are former baseball players. And so a lot of people that now that gives us an avenue through which to engage them at a higher level. They've always stayed involved with the institution because they love it. They appreciated their experience here. But now that we brought their sport back, the potential is limitless. And so very excited. That's really all the center we've been getting.
Absolutely. Now, my brother's a former baseball player, and we were devastated when the powers that be decided that they would discontinue baseball. And to add insult to injury, and I know this is bringing up an old wound, but it is what it is, right? It's a fact. The last time that Lincoln Blue Tiger baseball was in operation they went 1-49. And who wants to end a baseball program on a note like that? And what a way to come back. I know excitement is there, but you've also added men and women's soccer. Now, was that part of the deal to become part of the new conference?
Yes, it was. Baseball and men's and women's soccer were all core sports as voted by the membership, and so we had to add those. However, it aligned with who we believe that we need to be, because there's a wealth of talent from a soccer standpoint on both the men's and women's side right here in the Midwest. And so we feel very confident in our ability to find a talented coach and talented players that can compete right away. So, yep.
Okay. Now, when you look at having to add those three programs, non-revenue programs, I might add, how much does that add? I know it's going to add to the budget, but does it put the budget in a strain, or have you found ways to circumvent to justify those three additions?
Well, I have to give credit to my president. He actually sat in this seat for several years prior to ascending to the president's role. He's still very much involved in the day-to-day as it relates to athletics. And so he kind of introduced a model to us that is kind of heavily based on the Division III model as it relates to numbers. And so it is not a revenue sport, but they all are only partially scholarship. And so based on specific number minimums that our coaches must meet, we will actually have an influx of revenue based off of our enrollment. And so that was the selling point to our board, and that's the only reason why they were willing to invest. And so this is a model that, most institutions incorporate. When you look at Indianapolis, they've got about 40 or 50 people on their soccer team, and that's not how many are actually on the field. And so we're going to kind of incorporate the same model, and while still maintaining that quality, and it will be a positive financial impact to the institution. There will be no deficit.
Okay, now forgive me of my ignorance of this question I'm about to ask, but are you guys involved with the esports craze that's going on right now?
We are actually, and we're looking at carving out some space here on campus and trying to introduce esports in the fall. Here, we've been fortunate to talk to a number of experts in that space. I know Livingstone has done extremely well jumping out there, and a number of other HBCUs. I know there are HBCU-only leagues, and so we're kind of just reaching out to our colleagues. We had a site visit at Mizzou, which is about 45 minutes from here, and also Maryville, which is almost viewed as the Alabama of esports. And so we visited those sites and kind of got their feedback, and we're gonna incorporate a model here in Lincoln that works for us. And so we're very excited to kind of jump on board with that.
Yes, sir. The one thing that threw me off was the term sports. It's not esports that I would think about, like playing Madden or NBA 2K or NHL. This thing is about Fortnite and everything else under the sun but sports.
Yes. So I mean, you've got different leagues. I'm learning. I'm learning just like you are, but like you got League of Legends, you got everything and different. And ironically, what I didn't know is certain leagues attract a certain demographic, right? Like there are certain leagues that young ladies gravitate towards. There are certain leagues that international students gravitate towards. There are certain leagues that other demographics, gravitate towards. And so we're going to be very intentional about being able to afford the widest range of opportunities to our students, because as you know, we're one of the most diverse institutions in the country. So we want to make sure that everybody feels welcome, everybody feels included, and that everybody has a place.
Yes, sir. Once again, we're talking with Dr. Kevin Wilson of the Lincoln Blue Tigers Athletic Director, and I'm appreciating you so much for taking time out to meet with us. I got one more question I want to ask you. With the diverse background that you have and the various HBCUs that you've been at, all HBCUs are unique in their own way. Some problems are common, some problems are unique, some problems don't exist from one campus to the next. what have you learned about your tenure now at Lincoln compared to your other HBCU connects?
So at Lincoln, I really feel as though what I've learned is the power of everybody being on the same accord despite their differences. I think the diverse backgrounds that we have is what makes us so special, not necessarily holds us back. And oftentimes, I'll say it, like I often feel as though, especially in a lot of Black specific media, we kind of get left out because of the high number of active white alum that we have, not just white alum. Everybody's got white alumni, whether they think so or not, right? I know I had a ton of white colleagues when I attended North Carolina Central University that I speak with to this day, and they love the institution, no different than my Black Duke colleagues love Duke. And so, but I think at the end of the day, that's what makes us different and unique, man, that everybody kind of band together under the Navy. They can really care less about the Black and the white. And so I think that's the most powerful message I've learned here, just the power of coming together regardless of your differences.
Yes, sir. Well, Dr. Wilson, I want to let you know, sir, that we here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network have an open door for you to come on at any time to let your story be heard about the Blue Tigers and what's going on. Please don't hesitate to take advantage of that lifeline, sir. I am thanking you so much for making yourself available, and we have a custom here that we're going to allow you to have some closing thoughts and comments, sir, and the floor is now yours.
Absolutely. I want to say first and foremost, thank you, Dr. Prince. I also want to appreciate publicly the opportunity that my president, Dr. John Moses, gave me to lead here at Lincoln University. I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Dr. LaVie Wilson, who's a tenured professor at North Carolina Central University. We've dedicated, and our three lovely boys, we've dedicated our lives to HBCUs, our entire careers. We're both HBCU grads, and so just really, thankful for the opportunity. I just encourage everybody to really be on the lookout for Lincoln University across the board. We've got some of the best coaches in the country. We've got the best administration, and most importantly, we've got the best students in the country, in my opinion. And so, just really want you to keep your eyes open and just understand that we're coming. So, go Blue Tigers.
All right, there you heard it. Say they're coming. Taking a page out of Deion Sanders' book. We say we're coming, We're coming. He is Dr. Kevin Wilson of the Lincoln Blue Tigers of Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. I want to thank you guys so much for joining in with us on this segment. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show. The YouTube channel is the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And you can always visit our website at obnradio.com. And until the next time, you guys be blessed. And we'll see you on the other side.